stand. All right, see if that can see. Oh, we got to turn on the. Yeah, I'll let you mess with it. Hopefully it doesn't fall down. Just don't let anybody sit at that table. Wow, that's blinding. All right, welcome in. Man, this is a good crowd. All right, it's gonna be a party. All right. So nobody sit or there. We'll be good, unless we run out of seats and then we'll have to do something. No, this one's fine. This one's good right here. Right here's great. Just not. I'm trying to live stream and use this one for that, so then we can set up a side table there or something.
Okay.
Just had to go all the way to the ground. Here,
Here you go.
see if this will go. There you go. Does that help? And down it goes. Yeah, but you might end up holding it, Kristen. That might be. This is our first time trying it with that tripod. We might have to get a different tripod.
Yeah, they seem like they've already.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Did you get it?
I think so.
Yeah. That's great. This is a good crew. Yeah, that back leg is going to buckle. You might want to straighten out that back leg a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Now we're talking. Okay. Man, what a great crowd. Everybody having a good day?
Yeah.
So far, so good? Me too. Feeling good. Built some stuff. It's great. How are we looking? Just to be sure. Okay. That's blinding, by the way. It's cool. And we need it, though. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess everybody's ready to get started. Somebody asked if you need to take notes. It's really totally up to you. If you want to take notes, you can. This is being streamed live on YouTube. So we'll be available on our YouTube channel also. So if you don't want to take notes because you just rather watch it later, that's fine too, whatever you prefer. Goal of the Snack and Learns is really just to be a resource to nonprofits, to give you some basic training, sort of about what's coming with your site, and then to kind of give you a good overview as far as how to think about digital marketing for nonprofits. Some of this stuff will probably be overly simple for some of you. Some of it may be overly complex for some of you. There's just a wide variety of skill sets in the room, I'm certain. And so we try to kind of keep it pretty easy, beginner-ish level, beginner intermediate-ish level. So hopefully if you're already at kind of a marketing master, you can even pick up a couple of details here and there. So it's kind of the goal. We're going to do, I think, 4 sessions. We'll hopefully go about 20 minutes each with like some Q&A. And then maybe just a quick break here and there so that we can all stretch our legs and not be overly, sedentary. Is that a word? I think so. It's a word, yeah. Just roll with me. It's good. And so we'll probably go from 1 to 3 roughly, maybe a little less, just depending on how sort of things go. So sound good? Any preliminary questions? Okay. I'm Adam. Just so very quick history. Adam, co-founder of 48 and 48. We started in 2015 with one event in Atlanta as a test to see if we could pull it off. We did. Everybody was really excited about it, and so we decided to do it again in 2016. We did Atlanta, New York. 2017, we added in Boston and Minneapolis, St. Paul. 2018, we're going to be in 6 cities. 2 of them are happening right now, actually. So the Research Triangle event, which we're calling this, and the Boston event is actually also happening right now. And then in fall, we'll be in, and then actually next week, Illinois at State Farm's headquarters. And then in the fall, we'll be in London, New York, and Atlanta. So expanding quickly. Appreciate your being a part. Really excited to have all of you here. So the layout for this is going to be session 1. We're going to talk about post-event, just sort of what to expect so that everybody understands. There's always a million questions about this. I will cover as many of the details as I can. and then you can just hammer me with your questions. So I'm not easily offended, so just hammer away, not a problem. Glad to answer any questions I can. Session number 2 will be kind of website basics. So how are you going to use your website? What are some things to think about as you're using your website? Session number 3, we're going to talk about social media, kind of in a broad sense. How do we think about social media as nonprofits? What do we do with this? And session number 4 will be email. How do we think about email marketing, marketing automation through email, things like that. These are all, just to give you some additional perspective about me, these are all things that I think about constantly. I also run a digital marketing agency. Our agency specializes in doing work for large nonprofits at a larger level. So we work with like a lot of United Ways and things like that. I also have a nonprofit marketing podcast called Good People, Good Marketing. You're welcome to check it out, where I interview like CMO March of Dimes and nonprofit marketers from around the country about what's working, what's not working, and what can we look forward to in the future. And I actually release a podcast episode 4 to 5 times a week. So I have a lot of discussions around this in particular. I write a lot about it. I'm going to be working on a book about it in the near future as well. So this is something I think about constantly. So I'm happy to be a resource any way I can, both at this event and then afterwards if you want to chat or whatever, we can do that. So let's dig in. After this event, so a couple things you need to know about the event, how it works. And I think hopefully these things will not be surprises to you. If they are surprises to you, then there may have been some communications breakdown somewhere, which happens. So hopefully we'll be on the same page and we can move forward. So obviously your sites are being built. We're going to have the majority of the sites pretty close to complete today. That's usually what happens is Saturday the sites get pretty holistically done. And then we work through quality assurance most of the day on Sunday, and feature builds and feature testing. So we want to make sure that the sites are pretty solid beforehand. That's actually my primary role at the events, is just going through sites over and over and over and over again and making sure they fit our criteria, both from a design perspective and from a functionality perspective, making sure they're accessible and really making sure they're buttoned up and rock solid. So I will explain the after event support for bugs that do come up. Bugs will always come up after the event. Don't be surprised when they do. It's totally okay. And we have a plan for how to help with that. So there's no reason to stress about it at all. It will happen. Just expect it, because we're building a site in 48 hours. There's going to be some little things that just get overlooked. It just is the nature of the beast. The sites do go live on Sunday night. And that's why with the Cloudflare integration, that's why we did that, so we can help the sites live. The reason for that, just so you're aware, is that we found at the events, if the sites do not go live Sunday night, they do not go live very, very commonly, which sounds a little crazy, I know. There's just this, it's hard to describe. There's a mental hurdle to it that people that aren't in digital marketing just get, and I get it. Like I understand, I got my own mental hurdles about plenty of other things, not digital marketing related, but probably way worse. And there's just this digital hurdle that nonprofits have trouble overcoming. And so we found that the sites need to go live at the event, honestly, for the benefits of the nonprofits. There are occasionally exceptions to that. One exception being it just isn't done. It doesn't fit our criteria. I look at it and say, this is not acceptable. It's not going live. If that happens, it's okay. We have a post-build team that helps to finish sites for several days after the event if that does happen. So it's not a problem. We can make it happen. We can get it live for you, right? Also, there are occasionally circumstantial events that cause a nonprofit to it would be catastrophic if the site went live Sunday for some reason. And those are case-by-case basis that are worked out with the head project manager. So if you've got a compelling reason for that, just talk to your project manager and we'll dialogue about that. But sites go live then, you get control of the sites Sunday night. So you're able to log into site once they go live. The same login you've been using for your staging sites, you're able to use for your main site. So this is where you might want to make a note. So to get to the login screen for your site, because finding the login screen is going to be different, you're going to go to whatever your domain name is. It's mynonprofit.org, right? / WP, as in WordPress, WP-admin. And then that will take you to your login screen, and it's the same username and password of what you've already been using for your staging sites. So if you need me to repeat that or write that down for you later, just let me know. We'll get it locked down, but I want to make sure you know that you do have access. You will have access Sunday night, and then you can, the sky's the limit as far as what you can then do with and edit the site after that. Bug fixes and support. There will be bugs. It's cool. It's going to happen. I will say that, you know, I don't know how many of your parents, but like, you know how as a parent, sometimes like when your kid gets a scrape, you get kind of panicky and then you realize like it really wasn't terrible. It just looks terrible. Website bugs are kind of like that. Like they feel like really panicky and terrible when you find them, but it's usually not too big of a deal. So just submit a ticket. The way you do that is you go to 48and48.org/support. So 48in48.org/support. And we've got a list of frequently asked questions at the top, just in case they happen to answer your question. If they do, that's great. We're all set. If they don't, then you'll go through and you'll select year, event, you know, all the criteria, and then it just as detailed as you can, let us know what the issue is, give links. If there's a specific page, give a link to the page. Always give a link to the page, as much context as you can, so the team can get back to you. That will then go to the support team, the after event volunteer team, I should say, and then they will begin working through this bug as quickly as possible. If it's a really, really major, like catastrophic problem, obviously that's going to get looked at immediately. Some of the other like minor things are going to get probably fleshed out over the course of about a week, because it's about a team of 5 post-event volunteers, and we have about 96 sites that are going to go live Saturday because of the 2 events. So just bear in mind that it's going to be a bit of a process, and they are volunteers doing it. So we'll definitely do the best we can. We'll make it happen as quickly as we possibly can. Any questions about that? Because I want to make sure we all feel good about that. Everybody's looking at me like sort of blank stares. We're not totally sure what to think. Okay. Well, look, what you do need to know about support is we are here. We are here for you. We're on your team. Our support is volunteer based, so you just gotta. There's a little give and take with that, right? So just bear that in mind. But they're good people. They're great hearts. We have amazing volunteers that really love what they do, and we'll get locked down and taken care of. So after the event, there are several options for what to do with your site post event, and I want to make sure you understand what your options are. The first thing you need to understand is this: we 48 and 40 in no way is forcing you to pay us anything ever, okay? The site is yours. It is yours completely free of charge, 100%. You can do with it anything you want, okay? So let's just be really clear there. However, there is always a cost to a website, and you are going to pay someone, whether it's GoDaddy, whether it's A2 hosting or Bluehost. You got to host it. You got to pay for hosting. How many of you watched the tiny house trailer, the building your site's like building a tiny house? Anybody watch that? The video that I sent out? I got one. Yes. Okay. So 48 and 48 site is really like building a tiny house, right? It's one of those tiny houses built on a trailer, and we're building the tiny house for you for free. But you're going to have to park that tiny house somewhere, and you're going to pay for that parking. And so you can pay us, and that's fine if you want to. I'm fine with that. If you want to and we actually have a free option with GoDaddy for a year that we've worked out for you. So we're fine with that too. We're giving you as many options as we can, but ultimately it's going to cost you something. So I just want to make sure you know that. So here are your options. Okay. 30 days free on the 48 and 48 platform with what I would refer to as limited support. And limited support means you email questions, we email responses, because that's what we have the capacity to do from a support perspective. If you need more support than that, if you need hands-on support, if you need somebody to dig into your code, we can make recommendations for contractors that are not affiliated with us that you are welcome to talk to, that we believe in, and they're fine, and their rates are not exorbitant, right? We're not looking to make money off of this as 48 and 48. We're looking to help, and that's our way of doing it. And it actually helps the local community too, because ideally we connect you with a contractor in your local community. Would be great, right? You can stay on our platform for 30 days. After that 30 days, you can continue on our platform if you'd like. We have 2 options. You'll get an email about it that will detail out all of this stuff, but there's 2 basic options. One is $60 a month. One is $90 a month. The basic thing you need to know is it's extremely for hosting, and we are managing the WordPress install, all of the plugins for you, and we pay for all the licenses for all the premium plugins and themes and everything else. Come on in, grab a seat in we got seats in the back, sorry. So that's really all you need to know about it, right? Is that it's super secure, you don't ever have to worry about it. And then you can email questions and we answer questions, but there's not like hands-on super support. That's the $90 a month option, is the more super support, okay? And you'll get an email with all those details that'll walk you through all that stuff. If you do not want to pay that, and I totally get it, nonprofits don't want to pay $60 a month, I do not blame you. That's fine. We've worked out with GoDaddy we're going to send out after the event an email with a coupon code that will get you 1 free year of hosting with GoDaddy, completely free, whole year. Then we also have available to you within your website how to download your website in a zip file, that's the whole thing, to move to GoDaddy. You have 2 options in how to do that, okay? You can either move the site yourself because you have technical abilities, or you have a cousin that has technical abilities, or like a nephew or somebody, right? You can do that, that's fine. Or we also have a partnership with another company that is in no way related to us called GoWP. You're welcome to look them up, gowp.org, no, gowp.com. And for $100, they'll migrate the site for you. You never have to worry about it again, which is an insane deal, okay? So we try to make it as easy for you as humanly possible, and all this will be detailed in an email that will be sent to you, but we try to make it as easy as humanly possible to move your site if you want to go with the less expensive hosting option. I totally get it. Cannot blame you in any way for that, okay?
Question?
Yes?
So if we migrate or move it to our old site or current site,
Mm-hmm.
if the
You mean your
WordPress-
current host?
Our current host.
Okay.
The WordPress version is later than the one we've got, will we keep the one?
If you move to your current host, you want to basically wipe out what's on your current host, and you'd want to set up a brand new install of WordPress. You would not want to go back to an old WordPress
So we have to
version.
reinstall WordPress on our current host.
Yeah, and you'd have to import the database as well. Yeah. So so basically you'd reinstall WordPress, you'd migrate files, and then you'd import the whole database to do that. So, and we've got a somewhat step-by-step tutorial. It doesn't go into the weeds because hosting companies are too different to go into the weeds on that because they're all going to be set up very differently. But we do have a tutorial to at least get you started. To be honest with you, I'd pay the $100 and be done with it. I mean, because of the headache factor alone, I'd pay the $100 and be done with it. So that's just me. Yes?
If you're already hosting on GoDaddy,
Mm-hmm.
does that matter? Or
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. Let me, if you'll remind me after this, let's try to find out about that. I don't know what it means for existing hosts. I mean, it might be that you'd have to create a new account and close your other one, but that seems dumb to me. So let's talk about that afterwards. Okay. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions about hosting? I want to make sure. Okay. One other thing you do need to know, and I mentioned this a minute ago, is that part of the fee when you stay on our platform covers the licensing for premium plugins and themes. And basically all that means is, so WordPress is free and open source, and there are a lot of plugins that are free and open source, so you never pay for them, which is great. As a matter of fact, my company's created several of them. However, there are also plugins that you do have to pay for. They're premium plugins, and what you're really paying for is a license to get upgrades to those plugins in the future, which are often like security patches, additional features, things like that. And when you download your site and move it somewhere else, it will work fine without a license, but you won't if they want updates to the Beaver Builder plugin. I don't remember what the cost on that is. It might be $50. But just be aware of that. So we cover it if you're on our platform because we've got a license agreement with all of the different ones, and that's part of that fee that everybody pays. But if you move off, you'd have to cover it on your own because we can't cover it beyond that, if that makes sense. So, and if you have questions about which ones it is, I mean, we can look at it. You could submit a support ticket and we could tell you pretty quickly too. So, also, when you do get access to your site, Sunday night, Monday morning, whichever it happens to be, there are training videos on the back end of your site that you need to be aware of. So you can look for, is it the help icon? Kristen, do you remember? Is it the help icon at the top? Or does it say training? It might say training at the top.
I can't remember.
Okay, Kristen doesn't remember. That's cool. But either way, it's usually the top left and it's like training or help. And there's, I think literally, and this is another premium plugin that we provide actually. I think there's literally like 80 training videos for everything from like how to add an image gallery to a page, and you watch like this little 2-minute video, and you know exactly what to do. There's also page builder videos. I mentioned the sites are being built on a page builder. There's page builder videos to walk you through how to use it. So it's actually, if you're willing to dig in a little bit and just kind of like look at a few videos as you go, you won't have any trouble whatsoever. It's really amazingly simple to use. So, because we try to make it easy for everybody, right? That's the goal. Easy for everybody. I think that actually covers most of the post-event session, and that took 20 minutes, right, as expected. Questions? Anybody? What questions do we have? Not one? There's no way I was that thorough. Come on, guys. There's no way. No questions. Everybody's feeling really good. Okay.
We're just clueless.
Well, I know, and honestly, rightly so. Really, like that's part of the training. That's part of why we do the Snack and Learns, is because nonprofits don't know what they don't know. Yeah.
Post-event, what's the most common hang-up that users have?
Man, ooh, that's a good question. We've had a lot that had didn't know where to log in, so I've put that. That's why I mentioned that, like, first thing. Donate buttons sometimes can be a little tricky, so I would recommend go do like a $1 donation just to be sure after the event that it's looking good, because sometimes that's one of the trickier features. We certainly do the best we can, but doing a real donation through the system is just a little different than doing it in like a sandbox mode. So I'd recommend doing that once the site goes live. I think the best recommendation I can give you as a nonprofit is I would say, you're excited about it. You're probably promoting on social media. You might wait until a little more like midday Monday to kind of make sure everything's sort of smoothed over before you like really go crazy. Like, everybody go see the new site and donate. Like, might not be a bad idea to just like do a couple test things on Monday, and also test the donation form if you would. When you get it, test the contact form. Be sure that you get the contact form if you don't, because sometimes like a volunteer will test like their email address in the contact form, so it goes to them, and then they'll forget to change it to yours. And so, just make sure that's working. Look at your events pages. I mean, just kind of look through the site as if you don't know what's going on, and just give it all a little run through. I'd say spend like a little 30 minutes to an hour just to be sure. That's the best advice I can probably give you, is just look over it that way. And then also like test on some devices, like look at it on your iPhone. It should be good on your iPhone. We're testing it there, but extra set of eyes never hurts. So, yeah. And then the training videos, like look at the training videos. Like most people will ask a question before ever going to the training videos, and I get that. I'm that way too. I got kids; they're all that way. But just try to look at the training videos. Yeah.
Once you get the login again, maybe.
Of course, yeah. Login. Yeah. So the login is at yourwebsite.org, right? /WP, as in WordPress. So /WP-admin. And that'll take you to the login screen, and it's the same login that you've already been using for your staging site. So if you don't have it, you can go back to your nonprofit dashboard in our site and grab it from there if you need to. And you can also, if you really have some kind of weird trouble, you can do a password reset too. There's a password reset button, and you can always password reset based on your email address if you need to. So, yep. Any other post-event questions? Yep.
Actually, what if you already use WordPress on your current site?
Mhm.
So, like for me, my website.org/WordPress WP-admin equals that.
It won't once the new site's live.
Okay.
It'll take you to because what happens is, so the domain name is kind of like your house street address in a sense, right? So think of the domain name as your mailbox, and your mailbox then sort of points to your house up your driveway in a sense, right? And that's in your house is sort of say on a hosting server, okay? So what we're doing is we're saying no, the mailbox shouldn't point to that house anymore. It should point to this house over here instead. Yeah. And then later on, if you want to move the house somewhere else, you certainly can. It's up to you. It's your files. It's your domain name. We don't hold anything hostage. It's all yours. It's all free. I know. It's hard to believe it.
So if our website doesn't go live, we use the old stuff? We use the old credentials to log into the staging site because it won't be live yet?
Yes. If there's some scenario where it does not go live, yes. Yeah, it'd still be on staging. And you're going to tell because there's no, it's either on staging or it's live. They're not both, they don't both coexist. It's really the same site. So yeah, so you'll know one way or the other, yeah. But it should go live unless there's some really odds. Like, because on average, of the 48 built in a week, there's always the 2 or 3 that are like, hey, we're in the middle, we have a huge event tomorrow, and all the sign up on our old site, and like there's always like 2 or 3 like that, and I get that, and then there's usually 1 or 2 that I just go, not happening, we're fixing that, but then the rest of them are usually good to go. Yeah.
So the house that was at the old address, or at the old place.
The tiny house, right? Yep.
Before you make the new one go
Yep.
live, does that one evaporate into the online after?
Great question. So your other site actually does still exist on a server. it will not be accessible to you unless you're pretty technically savvy. So, but it did not go away. So if there was some weird scenario where you had to direct your address back on Monday to the old address, you are able to do that, and we can give you some help on that. It's a rare occasion, but yes, it is there. It's not just gone. Yeah, great question, really great. Anybody else? Yep.
If we didn't think to save all the content from our old site somewhere, is there a way we can do that?
So actually, interestingly enough, if you Google search Wayback Machine, there's an Internet Archive that saves web pages. You can actually find like snapshots of web pages from like 3 days ago, and I think I've still got a site on there that I look back at that was last live in like 2002, and you can still like go to the site and like click through it, and I'm like, man, that was a dumb looking page, you know, that sort of thing. So you can get to it that way. Alternatively, I mean, you've got today and tomorrow. You can grab content from it today and tomorrow. That would be easier, honestly. But Wayback Machine should have a snapshot of the site for you, which is nice. Yeah. All right, any other questions, or should we keep going here? Keep going. Okay. I'm feeling good about it. All right, session 2. We'll keep going. Session 2. Good to see you. It'll be online. Session 2 is website basics. So how to think about a website, what to do with your new website, how to think about content marketing, audience targeting, audience segmentation. So a little background here. I co-founded and run 48 and 48, which is a nonprofit. I also co-founded and grow Sideways 8, which is a for-profit agency whose particular specialty is in building websites. So you can see the correlation, right? The agency builds websites, now 48 builds websites. It makes a lot of sense. It's actually one of the reasons that my co-founder sort of tagged me to help him co-found 48 and 48, because I knew how to build websites and could figure out how to do it fast. So the first thing you need to know about websites is that there's been a propensity in the past for us to look at websites as like a set it and forget it sort of thing. And I would say that you've got to let that go. Websites, first and foremost, are living. And I would say that, I would argue that a website is the front porch to your organization. It's the thing people are going to hear about and go, oh, I heard of this interesting nonprofit. Let me go look at their website. And then they're going to immediately judge you based on that almost holistically in a very unfair way. They're going to determine based on your website, are you current? They're going to determine, are you professional? Are you trustworthy? They're going to determine, should I give these people my money, my time, my treasure, my talent? Really based on your website. And then hopefully you get them in the door and you can really like roll in, right? But it's very difficult to get them in the door if you don't have a good front porch, a welcoming front porch, which I would define as your website. So the way that I would think about this is that your website needs to be a living, breathing thing. It needs to be something that you're consistently managing, that you're thinking about. Is our services page really accurate now? Is our about page still? I mean, like set a every other month like reminder, just to do a review. Like, is this still good? And then make some tweaks and updates because that will help you to make it grow. Then you also might consider, and that's just for kind of the static stuff, because there are static pages, but they're static pages that should honestly be growing and dynamic. They should morph with your organization over time. But then you need to think about content marketing. Who knows what content marketing is? Anybody know what content marketing is? Yeah, I had a feeling you know what content marketing was. You got that look. You got that like zeroed in. You know what's up look. So I like that.
Thanks.
Yes. So content marketing is basically creating content that users want that makes them want to come to your website. And so when you think about like the different brands or the different sites that you interact with, the ones that immediately come to mind are usually the ones that create content that's real, that's authentic, and that genuinely matters to you, not that's best for them. And that's the biggest differentiator here is like we have a tendency as nonprofits to want to create content that serves us, that serves our nonprofit. And what I will tell you is fight that temptation as best you can and create content that serves your target market, which is a buzzword sounding thing, that serves your people, that serves the people that you care about, right? So whether you care about donors, or you care about volunteers, or you care about the people that you serve, or you care about the community, whichever that those people is that you care most about, create content that genuinely matters to them, and really is almost a side story for your nonprofit, but that genuinely matters to them, and create it often. So does anybody have a good example of, like, as I'm thinking about this, of any brands that create good content that you like, that you get excited? Anybody got any examples or any thoughts about that? Like, what are some of your favorite brands or websites to go to, perhaps? News sites, anything? I mean, news sites are content marketing, right? I mean, you go to consume content. Reddit is content marketing, but it's user-generated content marketing, which makes it brilliant, right? Technically, Instagram is sort of content, same sort of thing. I mean, social media ultimately is sort of content marketing. I mean, you follow people on Instagram because they're creating content that's interesting, but it's not content that's self-serving for most of them. I hope not, but it's content that's actually genuinely interesting to you, right? On Twitter, same thing. You follow people that are genuinely interesting, not people that are just tweeting about themselves constantly, right? Except for like Kanye West, who is absolutely tweeting about himself constantly, but everybody else, right? I don't follow Kanye, but I've heard, right? But do you get the idea? Content marketing. So my recommendation there would be to start, think about a blog. That's a great place to start, easy place to start. Think about who your perfect audience is for your website, that you want to come to your website, whoever that happens to be. And then ask yourself, like, what are 10 things that this person wants to know from me? Like, just give me 10 things. So, like, a great example would be 48 and 48. We use 48 and 48 as a case study, okay? So, and to be very honest, 48 needs to do a better job of content marketing, okay? So, our perfect people to come to our website are you, nonprofits, and what do you want to read on the website? I assume you want to read, like, stuff like the 5 things you can do to improve your donor page today. That'd be a great piece of content, right? Or an interview with the CMO of March of Dimes about what's working for them and what's not. Like, that'd be a great piece of content. Like, that's stuff that doesn't serve 48 and 48 directly. It serves you, brings you to the website, and indirectly helps to grow 48 and 48, right? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So everybody's on board with that. The next thing is you want to consider your donation page related to your website. So a lot of times our donation page gets put up, and it's kind of an afterthought, honestly. You just sort of throw it up there, and it's just kind of there, and they can click a button or whatever. So a couple things to think about for your donation page. It's going to be different based on what type of donor you are and based on the type of donor you are. But a couple things to think about. One is we tend to throw up a donation page with just say, hey, just give money. The problem with that is we're not really asking. It's a very ambiguous ask. Give money, right? Let's ask for an amount. Like, just why not? Like, ask for a series of amounts. So if you're, so depending on who you are and who you're asking, like I would say, like, hey, give $10, $25, or $50. Like $10 is like, you can play it off like, look, don't go to Starbucks for 2 days or one. I don't know how obsessed you are with Starbucks, or like an hour. I don't know, but don't go to Starbucks. Give $10 here. It's not $10 to go to Starbucks. I get it, but you know my point. Or hire up people that are, $50 is not really a big. There are some people that'll give $50 without batting an eye if you just ask, but because you didn't ask, they'll give $10 instead, right? Because they didn't think about it. So give some options. Give. I like to give 3 options, like low, middle, high, and just sort of see what happens. And then as you continue to bring in donations, you can tweak those options and wonder what would happen if we made our low option $15 instead of $10. Would it deal the donations we get, and then see? And if it doesn't, then keep going up to 20, and just test it and see what happens, right? And then you can also give them like a blank option to, like, say if they want to give $1,000, they can do that, right? You don't want to prevent people from giving $1,000. So that's kind of one way to think about your donation page. The other thing is it's never a bad idea to offer a recurring donation option. So a lot of nonprofits don't think about it, but I mean, if you can get 500 people giving $15 a month, that's not bad. It's sustainable. Like, it's coming in every month, as opposed to this kind of ebb and flow that we do with these one-time donations. So I think it's really good to think about that. As far as that goes, I love donation pages that are like, hey, give one time, give every month. You know, and also when you're doing that, like think about how you can frame the giving conversation to a potential donor. Because if you say, look, I want you to give $5, like it doesn't mean anything to them. But if you say for every $5 you give, we're able to read to one kid, like, well, that's a game changer. I got 5 kids, I'm giving $25. I want 5 kids read to. I do have 5 kids, by the way. I want 5 kids read to. You know, like it changes the thought process when you show where that money is going to go, right? Like for 48 and 48, we'll say, hey, like to a corporation, we'll say, hey, give X amount of dollars, and it allows us to build X number of websites. Like, oh, well, I want to build 10 websites. Well, that's great. This is how much that costs, you know? And then they can help us out that way, and then we can help you out that way. So show where a nonprofit where 100% of the money goes directly to the cause. That's awesome, and you should promote that like crazy. There's nothing wrong with that. For most of the profits, there's some degree of overhead, and that's fine, and it's expected. Hopefully, it's not a lot of overhead. So, and I would venture to say if you're in this room, you probably don't have a lot of overhead, so that's great. So those are just some thoughts around donations and recurring donations. And then lastly, let's talk just for a minute about audience segmentation and audience targeting. So you need to realize that nonprofit serves several different audiences, and one of the problems that nonprofits have in marketing is that those audiences are insanely diverse, like crazy different. Like you'll have volunteers that are like poor college students, and that's an audience because you gotta have those volunteers, right? And then you'll have donors that are like wealthy Fortune 500 folks, and the way you talk to those two are very different. And then you'll probably have like community, which is very different, right? And so you've got to figure out which parts of your website and which parts of your marketing pertain to each one. And you've got to really focus your efforts on that. So not to skip too far ahead, but like, for example, if you are a nonprofit and you rely on volunteerism and your volunteers are predominantly college students, which is great, and I hear there's a lot of them around here, then it's just what I hear. And see, last night, like at 11:30, they're all like skateboarding down the street, and I'm like, what is happening right now? So, but if that's the case, then maybe Instagram is your place for connecting with those college students, because they're all over Instagram, and you can speak to them in their own way, and you want to use their language. It's a more casual tone. It's more relaxed. It's less formal. It's more fun. Maybe a little bit edgy. Maybe your photos are a little bit edgy. But then they're probably not the ones providing the bulk of your donations. And so then on your website, on your services page, or maybe on your donation page, you've got the Fortune 500 folks over here, and you've got to write to them, and it's going to be a little more business. It's going to be a little more formal. It's going to be a little more suit and tie, and that's fine. Just speak with your authentic voice. But there's a couple of different levels of your authentic voice, right? So there's the authentic voice of your organization when you're having fun playing with a 5-year-old, and there's the authentic voice of your organization when you're meeting a high-level diplomat. Like you can still be the authentic you. You're not being inauthentic, but it's just a different voice, a different approach, right? Does that make sense? And so you want to make sure that you're thinking about that. And the other thing that I'd say about this, and this has actually come up several times in my podcast for marketing to for nonprofit digital marketing, which is that a lot of times as nonprofits we think, oh, if we can just get this one-time $5 donor to move up to be a one-time $100 donor, like if we can get all the tiny bigger, like because we have categories of donors, right? If we can move them, then man, how great is that going to be? We're going to be so much better. And they put all this effort into them, and it actually disenfranchises those lower level people, and then they actually start moving away from the organization instead of moving more. And so what you have to realize that a lot of times when you segment out these different audiences, often you're not going to be able to move one to the other. It could be that your volunteers are never going to be your donors. It could be that your donors are never going to be your volunteers. And if you try to push one into the other, you're actually going to, in a sense, hurt their feelings, and they're going to start moving away from your organization. So just be very cautious when you're thinking about this communication strategy. Like, who are these people? Why you? Why are they on board? Does it make sense to move from one category to another? If it does, how can we help them? But often it does. The reality is a on-the-street volunteer is almost always there for a very different reason than the donor over here that's going to give online and never talk. Like there's just completely different rationale between the two, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They just think differently, they act differently, and they engage with nonprofits differently. And so you have to recognize that and make sure that you're engaging with them in a way that works for them, and you're not trying to push them one way or the other. Does that make sense? Those are most of my notes. What else you got? Come on. Questions about website basics and marketing. Come on. We got something. There's no way it was that common. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we do not operate through donations. We
Great.
are software as a service.
Oh, I love that even better.
But we've got some board pressure to have a donate
Button?
capability in our website. Having that, do you have any thoughts on how to do that without offending our clients that potentially go to our website and pay for our services?
I think you can play it. So that's interesting in like the open source community where people build like free plugins and stuff like that. It's kind of this understanding that like this is free, but if you want to be a great guy, you can give us some beer money. Sort of like there's that sort of play on it. So I think, and it depends on the personality of your organization too. But my guess is that you can sort of play it as like, hey, do you want to be extra kind, or do you want to be extra friendly, or hey, buy us some beer money, or give us some coffee money if that's more your style. I don't know, but I think you can sort of play it that way, where it's like an add-on that does not take away from the value of what you're really offering. We can talk about that more offline too, but I think it's really just all about the messaging, honestly. So if it were me, I would probably talk to some marketing people that like really specialize in messaging, and be like, what messaging can we do that's not going to disenfranchise our SaaS users, but it's going to make them understand, like, yeah, we're a nonprofit, and a little extra change could really help go a long way, you know. And so you could, I think there's several different ways you can play that, but kind of the beer money example I think makes the most sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. We can talk more about it. It'd be fun to brainstorm.
Cool.
What else we got? Come on, somebody's got something. How to make everybody here fully understands how to make their website just amazing right now. You're ready to go. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yes, ma'am.
So what are your thoughts on, two things, Google Maps on the homepage and then the tickler for Facebook and Twitter on the homepage?
I like to push Facebook and Twitter off to Facebook and Twitter. It just gets messy when you try to embed it in the homepage too much. Yeah, I don't like the feeds on the homepage at all. I want people to engage on social media. It was a huge trend 5 years ago to have it all in one place and have a page. It's gone away now. Nobody's doing that anymore. They're all moving towards just have the link and then out the door. Google Maps, I think embedding Google Maps in your contact page is totally appropriate. I don't know if I'd embed it on the homepage unless there's a specific reason to. So if you're like a community center and people like really have trouble finding you, like that might be a really good reason to embed it like in a section on the homepage for sure. Otherwise, I'd throw it on the subpage.
So we're a retail store, retail thrift shop, so we need people physically coming to us.
In that case, you could do it at the bottom. I could do it like right before the footer on the homepage, so it's not obtrusive.
Okay,
Also do it on the contact page as well.
okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Will you remember us?
Well, I remember you. Why not?
I know, right?
Yeah. Just tell your project manager. We'll get it done. Yeah, I won't remember that from this. I won't remember my name after this or anything else. But if you tell your project manager, we'll get it done. I'll tell them how. Yeah. What else we got? Yep.
So you were saying about with the donations, you know, you said give 10, 15, 20. We also have an area where we list out, we work with horses. So, you know, for $50 you can buy 2 blankets for the horses.
Yes.
And we list.
Yes.
Is that good?
Yes. I love that. Yes. Do more of that. That's great because it's tangible. People, I want to buy 4 blankets. I want no cold horses. You know, like it's great.
It's like somebody said, he also get that mindset then, you know, well, the person was gonna give $100, but then they said, oh, I'll give 50 and just buy a blanket.
Yeah, but what you could then you could say like, you can also have an option like, hey, you're buying a blanket, do you want to give some extra? You know, like, and then they're, oh, okay, sure, why not? I'll buy a blanket and give 50 more bucks or, you know, whatever else. So yeah, I think it's good to give people tangible value on what they're giving. Yeah. Did you have something?
Yeah, I did. So on staff, we have someone who is a photojournalist. So that means that we have a ton of images.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of an internal debate about where those images in our kind of online landscape, where some folks think
That's a pain.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
worth your time.
Good, that's.
Too hard to manage. Yeah.
That's what both of us.
Yeah. So yeah.
We agree.
Nah, man. I'd be either all over like Instagram. I mean, heck, Flickr's making a comeback. It just got bought by somebody. I mean, I'd be looking at Flickr honestly, if it really does make a comeback, which we'll see. Instagram, Facebook. I'd put it anywhere else. It's
Great,
just.
that's cool.
Websites are just terrible for that. Like like there was the mentality like, oh, you got to keep them on your website, but like, no, man, the experience is going to be better. It's more interactive. Other places, yeah, you're way better off having them somewhere else.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yeah, websites are good for a lot. Thank you for validating what I already said. You're gonna clip this off, right?
Hey, Julie.
I'll let you know what spot that is in the video. We'll be all good. Yeah. So just fast forward to minute 38. Actually, I think it's more like minute 46 now, if you want to. Yeah. Just for reference. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Anybody else? We can keep moving. We'll get done way earlier if y'all want to. I'm fine with that. Anybody need a break? You okay? Stretch your legs or anything? Everybody's ready to go. Question? Yeah.
I have a question about audience segmentation.
Right?
It's something I really wanted to do with our email list for a while, but I don't really know how to start. There's already like 500 people on the list.
Yep.
Do you have any
Absolutely. Yes. What are you using for your email list right now?
Mailchimp?
Okay. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. One is direct and one is indirect. The direct route is to send an email to your whole list and say, hey, we want to segment our email list to better serve you. Click on the things that you care about, and then you can track those clicks, and then you can begin to create audience segments based on those clicks, and then you can send emails to those specific segments from that point forward, which will get you better engagement on your list. So it's always a good idea to segment your list as much as humanly possible. Historically, nonprofits don't do that. We just blast the heck out of everybody, and then our open rates are terrible, and our click-through rates are terrible, and then we wonder why people don't get our emails. They don't get our emails because they don't read our emails, because they delete them. So if you segment, you'll get a lot. It'll be better across the board. The other is the indirect thing. So you could say, for example, you can send an email, and you have a link to an article that if they click on it and are interested in it, that would by default segment them in this way. So it's a little more passive, and you can begin building a segmentation list that way. It'll take a little longer, it's a little less direct, and you'd probably want to do that over a longer period of time rather than just one or two times. So, but that's definitely the way to do it is have different links for them, use that to track who did that, and then create new audience segments based on that. Yeah, that's great.
So crossing over audience segmentation with content marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like your blog is probably going to be in one place. You're not going to have 3 blogs for 3 different audiences.
That is true, right?
So how do you help your various audiences intuitively find the content that's targeted at them if you're targeting content? on your
Yeah,
blog?
absolutely. What are you using? Are you using Mailchimp also?
I'm more about blog.
Just
honestly.
in general. Oh, okay. So for me, I mean, just highly categorized, and then you set up those categories really easy to find on the blog itself, so they can just say, I only want to see stuff about leadership, and then boom, I only want to see stuff about productivity. And boom. That's what I write about, not what you write about. But you get my point, right? I have a blog. I write about that random stuff. But that's how I do it. On my blog in particular, and then I've seen that be effective. I actually play that into an email strategy where it would auto push those specific categories based on the category into emails and do it that way. But yeah, I mean, because you can't have 3 different blogs for sure, and so you do it with categories. You can also do it with authors too. You could have different authors really speak towards different audiences. So you could have your one author that's like all about your Fortune 500 folks over here, and one author that's all about the college folks. And then you can categorize that way. And I think you can get away with a little more as far as tone if they're legitimately different authors or just different pen names, So whichever you prefer. Just make up names. It's good. I wouldn't make up names, but anybody else? Who has an email list? We'll talk more about email in a minute. Who's got an email list? Okay, sweet. We'll talk more about email in a bit. There's some fun email stuff we need to talk about. That'd be great. Anything else on websites though? You guys feeling pretty good? Okay, sweet. All right, we'll keep on trucking then. Let's see. All right, next session, social media. All right, who is killing it on social media right now? Just raise your hand if you're like straight murdering it on social media. I need to know. I got one in the back. Hey, that's the same one that asked if you could go Facebook Live, so you must be murdered on social media. That's what I'm talking about.
Our chat is too much, too many platforms, and not enough staff time.
Hey, that's the number one thing on my topic. You been reading my notes? All right, social media. Yeah, social media is tricky, right? Because it's easy and it's really not at the same time. If we're really being honest, it's very easy to do. It's very hard to do well. It's how I define social media. So my recommendation to every nonprofit is own a platform, own one platform first before you begin expanding to others. The temptation early on with social media was, just you got to have your Twitter handle and your Instagram handle and your Facebook page and your LinkedIn business page and you probably should own those. I'm fine with that. But you need to focus on one of those and just rock it. Because the reality is that most nonprofits do not have time to do 4 and 5 and 6 channels well. I would say you probably have time to do 1 well. And if you want to do, if you're going to do some crossover, I think that probably works okay. So, Instagram crosses over really nicely into Facebook. So that kind of is okay a little bit. But again, you want if you're going to do it that way, you got to think in terms of Facebook, not Instagram. And so what I would do is I would look at who the audiences are. We talked about audience segmentation and how you categorize your different types of audiences. And I would ask yourself, what's best? Most important for us. Where are these people? Because people that are really hardcore into Instagram are not typically the people that are hardcore into Facebook. And definitely are not the people that are hardcore into Twitter and LinkedIn. They're just extremely different types of individuals. And so determine first what playground are the people playing on that I care about, right? What's the playground? And then next, how do I dominate on that playground and really do a good job with the minimal amount of effort? Because that's always the goal, because we don't really care about social media, right? Like, we care about doing a good job and getting our stuff done, but using social media as a tool to get our stuff done. And so, so figure that out. Like, what is the minimal effort? So a couple of just guidelines around that. You've got to post regularly. Now, regularly does not mean the same thing for every person. For some nonprofits, regularly is every day. For some, it's every week. It's probably every week, at least for everybody. But for some, it's every hour. I mean, it just depends on what your nonprofit is and what you do. But you've got to post regularly so that you begin to set expectations on how people can engage with you, how often they're going to see your content, so that they know what to expect. It sets the expectation, sets the stage, and then they can engage with you on that. The next thing you've got to do is you've got to figure out, how do people interact on this? Like, what works? And honestly, just Google search it. Like, best ways to grow an audience on LinkedIn. There's like a gabillion articles, and some of them are kind of hacky sounding, so just ignore those. Like the ones that are like, okay, first go on LinkedIn and follow 500 people a day, and then 2 days later go unfollow 500 people and then follow 500, probably ignore those. Okay, those are crap. Get you a bunch of junk. You don't want junk, you want quality. But look at the ones that are serious, and they're like, well, here's what's your hashtag strategy on LinkedIn? Because on LinkedIn, the right hashtags and the right number of hashtags makes an enormous difference in terms of how you reach your audience. Like, what does really work best? To be honest with you, on Facebook, if you're going to grow, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money. The way Facebook is set up at this particular moment, it's very hard to grow organically. It's easier to grow organically on Instagram. It's easier to grow organically on Twitter. A little harder than Instagram. Facebook is really hard to grow without putting a few dollars behind. Not a lot of dollars, but a few dollars behind it. Just but on Facebook, once you start talking about dollars, actually, we'll get into that in a minute. The next thing is, don't buy followers. Don't buy followers. Don't buy followers. Don't buy followers. Okay? People will sell you like 10,000 followers, and they are crap. Don't buy followers. It's not worth it, because you don't want followers. You want people that engage. You don't so if you don't write anything down, write that down. On social media, you do not want followers. You want people to engage. If you have 15 followers that are passionate about your nonprofit, that's much better than 500 that don't care every time you post something. So you want people that engage, that really care about what you're doing and care about your brand. Okay. So the next thing is, so let's see, be consistent, platform, understand how that platform works, grow it organically. So that's what we talked about so far. As far as ads go, here's my philosophy on ads for nonprofits, okay? You should absolutely try them. You should try the cheapest option humanly possible, see what the measurable impact of it is, and then decide if you want to spend more money. So, spent ads. We've done ads on Facebook to get nonprofits to sign up. Shockingly, it's hard to get nonprofits to sign up for free websites. So if any of you can tell me how to solve that problem, that'd be great. It's the biggest problem I have. I'm not kidding. So we've run ads for nonprofits. We also run ads to get volunteers, just a little bit, just testing the waters to see what that looks like. It was interesting. So the ads for volunteers, I think we spent around like $250, maybe $300. And we got like 3,000, we got a ton of clicks. It was like 35 cents a click, so somebody can do the math and tell me how many I actually got. But my point is that we got a ton of clicks, and I don't think we had any volunteers show up from those ads, like not one. So we got a lot of traffic and a lot of exposure and no volunteers. And so my point is that we tested it. $300 is worth testing. I think what we found out is that's pointless. Don't do that again. That's fine. And now we're going to test something else, and we're going to test something else, And so I think the nice thing about buying social media ads is they're pretty cheap. Like you can boost a post on Facebook for $20, and then you can see like how many people clicked on the link, and when they clicked on the link, like did they do anything? Did I get any more donations, or did I get any more signups, or whatever? Like you can really test and see, is this working or not? And that's the really great thing about social media ads. And so, like on Facebook, you may not be aware too. If you have an email list of 500 people, I think you said 500 people. So on Facebook, you can load that list of 500 people into Facebook, and you can send those 500 people ads, like only those 500. So they're people that you already know care about your charity. They're already on your list. And as a matter of fact, if you're on Mailchimp, which you said you were, you can do that through Mailchimp. You don't even have to go to Facebook, and you can run Facebook ads through Mailchimp based on your list that you already have built and you have access to. So the cool thing about that is, let's say you've got 500 people on your mailing list. These are people that have signed up. They already care about your charity. You're doing a donation drive. You can run ads specifically to those people in particular and get more engagement with them. And so if you do that in concert with email asks, now you're hitting on 2 different channels and 2 different levels. You're going to get a ton more engagement than you would if you didn't do it otherwise, right? Now, the next cool thing you can do with Facebook, if you're not unaware, is you can also create a lookalike audience. So you got those 500 people, you load them into, including the name of your imaginary pet unicorn. And come on, that was funnier than y'all laughed. And so it can say, oh, man, Adam has a massive number of kids and loves to wear hats. So when it does a lookalike, it'll find other hat enthusiasts that have a massive number of kids, so we can play basketball scrimmages against each other, okay? So that was funny, guys. Come on. Anyway, let me get my point. Like, it knows who I am. It knows what I'm about. It knows everything I click a like button on. And so when you load in your 500, you can then target lookalike audience and find an exact additional list, exact same location, and market to those people as well. So Facebook is super powerful in terms of marketing if you're willing to kind of dig into it a little bit and do some of those things. So Twitter marketing is a little harder. LinkedIn marketing is a little harder. Instagram marketing, actually, you can do through Mailchimp as well. I would recommend trying it that way. I think it's a little easier to do that way. It can be a little more powerful. I'm a bigger fan of Instagram and Facebook from a paying dollars for marketing standpoint than I am of the other platforms. I've just seen more return there. So, man, I think that about covers most of my thoughts on social media. Any other questions about that? About social media in general, paid ads or platforms? Anybody on a weird platform that I didn't mention? Come on, there's like a million of them.
We're on SoundCloud.
Nice.
Cool. We're in music school.
Oh, nice.
So a couple of our kids have done projects in our recording class there.
That's great.
I don't really know what to do with it now that they're there, but they're on there.
I don't know SoundCloud very well, but guarantee there's a million articles how to grow your SoundCloud audience. I mean, I would strongly recommend spending 45 minutes doing some research. You'd be shocked how much you can learn really quickly. Is anybody doing podcast curious for any kind of growth? You do? Okay, now.
So far so good.
Okay.
We haven't really evaluated it at all. It's pretty new.
Okay, cool. So podcasts are a really interesting tool. It's that area is growing really fast. I have 2 podcasts because I'm insane, and it's fun. It's easy. It's an easy way to create content. Honestly, that's what I like best about it. So you know, if you're writing blog posts, most people write. It takes a while, and then you have to edit and you know all that stuff. With podcasts, I mean, you can do a 15-minute interview and it takes you 15 minutes, maybe a little bit of very little post-production editing. You can get a transcript done for pretty cheap, and then you've got a great piece of audio content and a big long piece of written content that's really fantastic for your stuff. So you know, if you're a busy individual, you know, it may not be a bad idea to consider a podcast as opposed to writing blog posts because it might actually be faster. I probably will be writing an article about my strategy for podcast because I've got a podcast. I mentioned it earlier. Good People, Good Marketing. It's actually about nonprofit digital marketing. Specifically, that's what it's about. And for me personally, so I've got one of my staff members helps me with it. Kristen, right here. Wave your hand. And then also I've got a virtual assistant that helps me with a few minor things. But all in, a 20-minute episode, everybody's work included, probably takes a grand total of 40 minutes. So for 40 minutes to produce a really great 20-minute episode with a ton of written content, I mean, you just can't beat it. It's really great use of our time. So something to consider. If you want to talk more about podcasting later, I'm around. So let me know. Any other questions about social media or podcasting, perhaps? Nobody. No questions. It's information overload.
What's the best app or software to make a quick video?
Ooh.
Where you're adding video that you've already taken with pictures and.
I got the best app ever for you people. Write this down. This is going to be epic. Okay, there's an app called Quick. I think it's QUIK. It's by GoPro. And I used it. So if you go to 40 and 48's Facebook page, I used it last night to create this epic, awesome video that literally took me 7 minutes to create. And it does the music and the cuts and like all the crazy effects. And it looks like a legit professional video, like literally 7 minutes in. Like you just go check it out. It is the best thing ever. I use it all. I use it for like family vacations.
Can you do it on your phone?
Yeah, it's all on my phone. Yes, this is what makes it so awesome. And they have they also have a more comprehensive video editor called Slice, also by GoPro. That's really great if you want to like really have a great deal of control over your editing. But for like literally for creating Instagram length videos, I like them about 58 seconds. Then I'll do like a minute and a half for Facebook, and you can take the same video and like just change the amount of time, and it just changes the cuts for you. And they're all like the cuts are big music. It's unbelievable. Like if you learn nothing else at this thing, download that app. It's awesome. Okay, just ignore everything else I've said. Go make some videos. It's gonna be great. No, seriously, it really is amazing. So it's so unbelievable. Okay, anybody else? I just rant about that for a while.
It's QUIK.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe it's QUIK. Yeah, and it's by GoPro, so you'll know in the App Store that it's by GoPro. Yeah.
I'd love just you to talk a little bit more about like if you don't have a podcast and you're thinking about starting one, like.
Yep. How do you do it?
What does that look like? What platforms for someone who like
Yeah.
isn't serious yet?
So for podcasts, I use a platform. So I have 2 podcasts. One is an interview style podcast. That's the Good People, Good Marketing, interviewing like CMOs. The other is actually called Tech Talk Y'all. If you want to check it out, you're welcome to. It's basically tech. It's tech and entrepreneurism conversation with kind of a southern startup slant to it, which is particularly hilarious because I do it with my friend Sanjay Parak. So he's super southern, and he's great, and he's super tall. And so we talk about technology news. So that one's in more of a studio setting. So I think the interview ones are super easy to do. And honestly, so interview podcasts are kind of brilliant in 2 ways. Number one, you don't have to create any content or do any prep work at all other than having good and intelligent questions, which I think you can all do. Number two, an interview podcast is the most amazing way to network with people that would never give you the time of day. So if you have people that you need to meet at the Fortune 500 companies over here that you want to be your donors, they're not going to answer your phone call for just like, hey, let's have a donor conversation. But if you say, hey, I got this podcast about this thing that I think you might be interesting to interview about, man, they will answer that. Like, they'll answer coldly. It's unbelievable. It's the best networking tool on the face of the planet. So I'm giving you all my secrets, and all of you my secrets. But it's great. So Zencastr is great for Zencastr.com, Zencastr, I believe, .com is great for interview podcasts. It's pretty cheap, all in browser, no stuff to download. You need a decent mic. I would look at the Yeti mics, like the Blue Yeti mics are great. No, is it blue? Yeah, blue. The blue mics in the Yeti, yeah, Blue Yeti's great. Blue Raspberry's great too. You need to have a decent mic at least for yourself. And then you would need a platform to host it on. So like Lisbon is a platform for podcast hosting. It's really popular. I use one called Blueberry. It's like spelled wrong, but if you search Blueberry podcast, you'll find it. I use that because it integrates more deeply with WordPress, which all of your sites are going to be built on, by the way. So it might not be a bad idea. Blueberry is really good for hosting podcasts. It's cheap. And there's another one called Fireside FM that I use for the Tech Talk Y'all podcast. So I would use Blueberry personally if I were you. That's what I use for the Good People, Good Marketing podcast. It works great. So those are the tools: mics, interview software, podcast hosting software, and then you just find a good transcription service. I've actually got one. If you shoot me an email, I can connect you with it. It's like actually an individual person that does a great job, and I've referred you to several people. I think it's like $15 an episode to transcribe the whole episode, and it's not always perfect, but $15. So, I'm cool with it. So does that answer your question? It's like podcasting basics 101. Yeah, awesome. Anybody else got anything? Any other social media podcast questions?
Have you done it where you like Facebook Live and then convert it into a podcast?
I've not done that. I should try that. I need to get into some video at some point. So I think that may happen in the near future, or YouTube Live possibly, but I have not gotten into it yet. That's a great idea though. Anybody else? Questions, podcasts, social media, funness?
How often did you do your podcast when you started?
So the Tech Talk Y'all one, we go to a studio. It's a little more thoughtful, more prep time. So we've been doing that every other week. We're going to start doing it every week in the near future because we're getting more and more audience. With the other one, actually, the Good People, Good Marketing, I just started in January. And what I did, because I'm using it as both a networking tool and a content tool, and I wanted to do a lot of networking and a lot of content. So I basically set aside all day Wednesdays to do nothing but record podcasts. So I actually record about 7 every Wednesday, and then release about 4 to 5 every week, because it's great content and it's pushing a lot of content out there to help people out. But it's really just a question of what you want to do. Like you could do 1 a week easily with that methodology without too much investment. You could do 1 every other week. I mean, it really just has to suit you and your organization. Yeah. Man, I'm giving all the secrets away. That was a big one right there. It's my podcasting secrets right there. Kristen knows. I love some podcasting. All right, who else got something? Anybody else? We're ready for the email conversation. We're just going to plow right on through. Building an email list is probably one of the most important things you can possibly do in terms of digital marketing for a couple of reasons. One, because you can contact people. It's more active. You can go to them as opposed to having them come to you. In every other platform, they're coming to you. On your website, they're coming to you. On Facebook, they're coming to you. On email, you're going to them. It's more direct. It's more active for you. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It also gives you a way to market to them, like we talked about on Facebook, where you can load up a list, you can market to them, you can market to lookalikes. You have a lot more options and flexibility if you have an email address than if you do not. So I would recommend that one of the primary things that you do is collect email addresses as best as possible. There's a couple of different ways to do that. One is, hey, stay informed and sign up for our newsletter. It's pretty passive, indirect, or hey, do you like mission? Stay on board with it, sign up for our newsletter. Alternatively, you can do an offering. So you can say, hey, look, we have this amazing white paper on, I don't know, I said you in the back, you do horse riding, horse stuff. So we have this amazing paper on the benefits of horses for children. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. And download it, and to download it, give us your email address. So you can set it up that way where it's called gated content, where you've got content that someone wants, they give you their email address, they give the content. You've all done it, I'm sure. I've done it like way too many times. I get way too much email. So we've all done it, but that's another good way to get email addresses. But the bottom line is you don't get email addresses if you don't ask. You've got to ask people for it, and then they will usually volunteer and give it to you, especially for a nonprofit, because they care what you're doing. So they want to stay informed, they want to stay engaged. So that's number one, make sure you're asking for emails on a regular basis. Make sure you're giving incentives, and maybe even tell them what you're doing. Like, hey, sign up for this newsletter. We're going to send you weekly updates with heartwarming stories about puppies licking ducklings, so you can, you can share it all over the internet, because the internet doesn't have to be full of cat videos. We can have some puppy videos too, right? So like whatever it happens to be, I'm sorry, I have a weird sense of humor. You tell them why, and they'll sign up, okay? Next, you need to have a newsletter, right? I think we all get a million newsletters, and very likely most of us don't put as much effort into our outgoing newsletters as we probably should. And so have a newsletter and make sure it's compelling. So one thing that's tempting for nonprofits with a newsletter is to just cram it full of everything. And then it's like, it's kind of, what's the word for it? It's not bipolar. It's schizophrenic. It's a schizophrenic newsletter, okay? You don't want a schizophrenic newsletter. Like, it's not good for people. Just have a cohesive theme, and that is awesome. Now, just have a cohesive theme, and then create a newsletter down that theme, and then use that to point people off to your website, to different pieces of content, right? So you want to update people, you want to inform people, you also want to encourage people to move off the newsletter and into your website to more deeply engage with you. You also want to encourage them to move off your newsletter and into your social media platforms to engage with you in a deeper way as well, right? So have a newsletter, keep it cohesive, keep it consistent. So if you're going to do one every week, do it every week. If you can do it every month, do it every month. If you're going to do it every quarter, do it every quarter. Whatever it is, say when you're going to do it and do it no matter what. Keep it consistent. And honestly, they don't have to be overproduced. Like, we get into these newsletters like, oh, it's got to be super beautiful and it's got to have spectacular images. No, it really doesn't. Just make sure it's compelling. Like, if it's compelling, that's all that matters. It's like the most awesome design with crap content is still crap content. But the worst design with good content is still good content. You want to have good content always. You do not want to have junk. It's just not worth your time. Okay? So think of it that way. Valuable content is the secret. Next, so who uses who's using? How many people are using Mailchimp? Anybody using Mailchimp? Ooh, a lot of you. I like that. Okay. Anybody using like Constant Contact? Okay, that's pretty decent. Any other kind of systems out there you're using right now?
Using eye contact.
Okay, eye contact, right? Great. Okay, so it sounds like you've all got a system. It's got a database. It's important to do the best you can to segment that. We talked about that a little bit earlier with yours. Like one way to think about that too is, and we actually we did this. So we use Mailchimp for our newsletters. We also use a system called ActiveCampaign as our CRM and marketing automation tool, which I would definitely recommend if you're interested in something a little more deep and a little more robust, perhaps, than Mailchimp. Mailchimp does a lot of marketing automation, but ActiveCampaign is just a little simpler. And so like, for example, a great example is one of the things that we did, for this event, is when volunteers came, we had a QR code that they could scan on their phones to take them to a website to check in. We didn't do volunteer check-in the manual way. We do it on a computer. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code, go check in. When they checked in, they gave us an email address and a name, and it automatically put them in a new list so we know exactly who showed up at the events, and it automatically tagged the people in those lists so we can say, okay, I want only the people that were in Boston for the 2018 48 and 48 event. No problem, we can pull them right there. We can send them an email. Only the people that were in the Research Triangle 2018 40 and 40 event, no problem. Only people that attended, right? So you always want to have some kind of system and do the best you can to segment out your audiences so that you can really begin to micro-target those audiences. Because what I've been guilty of in the past, most nonprofits are guilty of, is this idea of just collect generic data like crazy, And then it's like, all right, let's email every volunteer from last year. But like, do you really want to email every volunteer from last year? Because they're all different. Like if they're volunteering in the fall, it's different than in the spring. And if they're volunteering for this event, it's different from this event, it's different from this. So you've got to be able to begin to segment them out. And so you've got to have a system that will allow you to do that, right? I think you can do that with Mailchimp as well. I would strongly recommend you looking into that. All of your sites are going to have a forms plugin called Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms has a Mailchimp add-on to it that should allow you to do some of that segmentation. So just kind of bear that in mind. It's worth digging into a bit. Who's doing marketing automation for email? Anybody doing marketing automation? Okay. So marketing automation is, anybody who knows what marketing automation is? Just everybody not raising your hands. Okay, cool. So marketing automation is amazing. It'll change your life. I've got some swampland I want to sell you. No, just kidding. So marketing automation is basically this idea that it sends an email and then tracks how a user interacts with either the email or your website, and then it follows up in different ways based on people interacting in different ways. Okay. So how many of you got the email 48 and 48 going through the coursework that said, hey, it looks like you might be stuck on course whatever. Can we help you? So 100% marketing automation on those. Are any of them, you remember the blue header at the top, the ones with the blue header? So those are all marketing automation. So basically the marketing automation tool is looking at the website and saying, have they done step 1? And if they have, it doesn't do anything. Have they done step 2? No, they haven't. Okay, wait 5 days. Then waits 5 days. Have they done step 2? No, they haven't. Okay, send an email. So that's marketing automation at its finest. I've set up marketing automation to help nonprofits get through course 1 all the way through to course 3. And then where it really gets cool is post-event, you're all going to get emails, and it's going to be a series of emails that are going to be based on marketing automation that says, hey, email like 2 days after the event, I need you to send this email. 3 days after the event, I need you to send this email. If they don't click this link, I need to send this email. If they do click the link, I need you to send this email, which are different emails, right? So I can begin to really think through how you're interacting with the software and what you're doing, and then I can send a series of emails based on that, which is amazing. And then the nice thing about it is, if it gets to a certain point, and let's say you haven't clicked any of the links, you haven't opened any of the emails, it also tracks if you open the emails. You haven't opened any of the emails, then it alerts one of my staff and says, hey, this nonprofit over here isn't opening any of the emails. You need to follow up personally, and that's when you get a call from Gina. And Gina's like, hey guys, what's going on? You know? And what happens sometimes is it goes into a spam folder or whatever, like not a big deal. But it's just a way for us to expand our capabilities and do more, because instead of us having to send 50 emails a day, it's all being done for us, and we can follow up on the 2 or 3 that just aren't able to get through for whatever reasons, right? So another great example is we have a bunch of volunteers at this event. So after the event, an email's gonna automatically go out that says, hey, thanks so much for volunteering. You made a huge difference for these nonprofits. You know, we look forward to coming back next year. We'll let you know what the deal is, blah, 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 right? So then it'll send probably another email in about 10 more days that'll give them a link to a page where they can sort of see some details. Here's the list of sites that go live, all that sort of stuff, which is cool. Then I'll have it set to wait, I think 350 days and say, or maybe 340 days, done, and say, hey, you volunteered last year. Do you want to volunteer this year? And if they click yes, then it goes into one automation to help them get through that volunteer process, and they click no, it just ends the automation. There's nothing else to do. So it's a way of so that's an easy way for me to engage volunteers automatically without me ever having to think about it. And now next year, for the Research Triangle event, I'll have a whole bunch of volunteers automatically signed up, and I never had to do anything or even think about it, which is amazing, right? So automations is great for that. Mailchimp has a lot of those marketing automation tools that I've just described. Do this if they click this link, do this if they don't, do this if they open it, do this if they don't. Mailchimp has a lot of that already built in, actually in the free package, so you should look into that. ActiveCampaign is really amazing for that as well. They do not have a free package, so you would end up paying for that, but it's a really, really good and handy tool, so something to think about. Any questions about email, newsletters, Mailchimp, ActiveCampaign, marketing automation? Yeah, I think that's what we're doing.
Between the different platforms, Mailchimp, Contact, et cetera, what's going to be the best integration with the website creating? For however you would need it.
So I believe Constant Contact has an integration. I have never used it, so let me preface that. Kristen's nodding her head, so she would know better than I would. So I would say try that if you're already using it, so you're not having to move. I'm always a big fan of Mailchimp. They're an Atlanta-based company. They're super cool people. They give out tons of swag. They're one of our sponsors. Like, I'm super Mailchimp biased, 100%. Mailchimp is truly an amazing company. I'm always going to point people to Mailchimp first because they have a freemium model. You get a ton of features for free. And honestly, their platform is getting, I mean, you can do email newsletters, you can do marketing automation that's relatively complex, and you can do like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all that stuff. I mean, it's great. I think they're on a really good trajectory. So I'm always going to vote Mailchimp, honestly. So I'm super biased. But to make it easy on yourself, I don't know that I would just migrate for the sake of migrating. Probably test it out. Because I think that the Constant Contact integration is going to be as deep as the Mailchimp integration. So, yeah, really good question. Anybody else? Active campaign questions, CRM questions, email questions. How to manage 5 kids questions. I got that too. Really good at that. My wife's really good at that while I'm out of town. Yeah.
So we're in a position where we have to gather data a lot of times from our kind of bifurcated audiences. And I was curious about if you use kind of a native Mailchimp survey system within an email, or if you point people outside of an email to take an online survey.
What type of data? Do you mind me asking?
Not personal data.
So more like just getting statistics data, or?
Yeah, or even like, gosh, there's so many different kinds of examples for this that we think about. So for like a general population that might be like on our newsletter, like community-oriented kind of stuff, one thing we may need to know is, well, okay, never mind. Let's talk about it more specifically later.
Okay, yeah, sure. We can dialogue later. Yeah, I'll be around. No problem. I mean, Google Forms is always good for
that's
general survey data.
Yeah, that's what we
So-
kind of integrate
so-
with that, but.
One thing I'll mention to you that you should at least be peripherally aware of, I'll probably be putting out some information on this, both on Good People, Good Marketing, and probably through 48 and 48 in the near future as well, is that if you do any kind of work or capture any kind of data from anyone in the UK for any reason, there's a lot of very stringent UK laws that are coming out. They're going to affect any website that captures any data from anyone in the UK or any UK citizen that is here.
It's not just UK, it's all of Europe.
Is it EU?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the GDPR?
Yeah, GDPR. Yeah.
It's all of Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Not just UK.
Yeah. So you've just got to be aware of that, and it's all. I'm digging into it, so you might actually know more than I do. I've heard some good talks on it. If you want to know more about GDPR, I would strongly recommend checking out like WordPress.tv and search for talks on GDPR. There were some really good talks in London about it 2 weeks ago that are available. There were 2 talks in London that I would recommend. But the bottom line is it's all about how you handle data that's traveling outside of Europe, being pushed to servers outside of Europe, the types of disclosures you have to have on your website. The days of having a generic privacy policy on our website are kind of gone. We really need to have custom privacy policies that really explains what we're doing with people's data and where it's going. So for example, in what we're talking about Mailchimp. So the privacy policy really needs to say, when you sign up for our newsletter, it goes to Mailchimp, so that they know where their data is going. So now Mailchimp's then accountable for that data as well. So I would recommend taking a look at that. It's going to become an increasingly important thing. Well, really immediately. I mean, it goes into effect in May 24th? 25th, May 25th, yeah. So just something to be aware of. I'm going to try to put some resources out there in the very near future on 48 and 48 for people to kind of help them get ready. WordPress is actually actively working on some ways to begin helping people write a custom privacy policy for them. I think there's like a plugin that's a collaboration between Automatic and WordPress about it. So there's gonna be some stuff coming up to make it easier, but just it's something that needs to be on your radar. So thanks, that's good. What else we got? Marketing related, anything? Yes?
Do you have any thoughts about Google ads driving people to your website, or?
So, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on Google Ads, actually. So Google Grant, who knows about Google Grants? Okay, so you can apply for Google Grants as a nonprofit, and you can get $10,000 a month in free Google Ads. It's like funny money. You spend Google's money with Google for it's $10,000 ads a month. There are several stipulations around that. It's not always easy to spend, and it doesn't always drive high quality traffic, but it is available to you, and I think it has a lot of value. Like for a good example, I work a lot with the Atlanta Children's Museum. We've seen it be very effective for them. So I think like for a store, like I think around the PTA store, like could be really effective for you. It on the circumstance, but I think it's worth looking at. I would never pay real money for Google Ads at this point. Not as a nonprofit, I would not. In general, if you don't know what you're doing, you have a tendency to to cast an extremely large net that drives in a very large audience that's ultimately too diverse to really care about your nonprofit. And it ends up being a lot of junk traffic if you don't know how to refine it. So if you were going to spend money, I would strongly recommend hiring someone to help you manage it. But with Google Grants, you can get some free money, test the waters, and try it out. So I would absolutely do it. Signing up for Google Grants is actually really easy, so I'd strongly recommend that. Yeah, just Google search Google Grants and find all the information. Yep.
What did you use to do that QR code generation, and was it free?
I did use a free one. I just searched QR code generator and found something. Yeah, I have no idea. Actually, that one, my designer did that one, but yeah, same idea. And it was free, yeah. There's a million of them out there, which is kind of scary. I don't know what they're doing with that data. They're doing something. But all I did was submit a link. So, I mean, I didn't give them my name or birthday or social security number. Anybody else? Marketing stuff. Everybody's good. So we're good with post-event. We're good with basic marketing. We're good about it. Everybody knows what's happening. 30-day trial, hosting options. I'm going to send you 1 million emails with all the information you could want. Big thing. 48and48.org/support. Got any question in the world of any kind, in any way, at all, you don't know who to reach out to, /support. 48and48.org/support. Please, 48and48.org/support. It will get to someone quickly. We check it umpteen times a day. I've got a guy in Atlanta checking it. We got our staff checks it. Like it actually goes into a ticketing system. So multiple people are checking it. Like that's the best way to get help quickly. So can't emphasize that enough because I frequently will hear after events like, I asked for support, I had no idea how to get support. I'm like, well, it's /support. So /support. Okay, anybody else? Yep.
I used to do marketing for nonprofits as like my sole focus, but I'm currently the only staff person for the organization I work for now.
Yep.
I can't do all of this.
Right.
I have to run the programs and the organization itself.
Yep.
So where would you recommend I focus to be like, most effective with my time?
And what's the best bang for your buck, right? What's your target market? What's your target audience?
We are doing music lessons for students on the free and reduced price lunch program, so we are focused on both reaching their parents and donors primarily.
Do you have photo releases where you can post about the students? Honestly, what to me would seem to be the easiest thing and the easiest bang for your buck would be Instagram and doing like videos. And I mean, because you're doing it in the lessons, it's on the fly. And I'd even like ask the kids like, hey, tell me what this is like. Why are you doing this? What has it meant to you? How's it helped you? Because it's quick, it's easy, and it's out the door.
Is Musical.ly dead and over?
Well, that's the first time I've heard the word Musical.ly in about 10 months. So. I don't know. That's beyond the scope of my expertise. Let's just say that. I will abstain from that question. I honestly don't know. I can give you some. I'm more on the Instagram side lately. So my kid liked Musical.ly, but.
Or a YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel could be good. I like the idea of Instagram because it's short, it's sweet. You can build an organic following. If you're smart about your hashtags, you can really build an organic following. You know, it pipes into Facebook. So if you've got the donors there that might be on Facebook, I mean, Facebook tends to be a little bit of an older demographic at this point. That it's great for that because it pipes in easily. It just, to me, that seems like it's a real easy win. Like every lesson, like, hey, 15-second video, you know, and then, all right, Tommy, you know, let's go, you know, or Susie, or I don't know. Do people name their kids Tommy and Susie anymore? I don't think so. I don't name my kids that. So, anyway, you get the idea. All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap then. This was fun. Thanks for coming out. That was not 2 hours, an hour and a half. We rocked it. Good job, everybody. Great job.